Welcome back to Simple Truth. Hey, we're in 1 Samuel. We're in chapter 18. We're in verse 20, right? But talking about how one of the ways to avoid the trap of the enemy is through humility, right? But in verse 20, we pick up the story with this. Now, Saul's daughter, Michal, loved David. And they told Saul, and the thing pleased him. Right? Saul thought, let me give her to him that she may be a snare for him and that the hand of the Philistines may be against him. Therefore Saul said to David a second time, you shall be my son-in-law. Right? So I get this, grasp this in these verses. Right? The enemy will take legitimate things, right? Legitimate things and try to twist them, try to make them a snare for us, right? Saul knows David is God's anointed, that there's a special relationship between God and David. So what's he think? Once he hears, hey, your daughter is in love with David, his mind is pleased by that. And we already know that Saul's not for David. Why would he want him to be part of the family? Right? David apparently, right, turns down Saul's first opportunity to be part of the family, right, by saying no to the first daughter. Now the second daughter, Michal, she's in love with David. It pleases Saul, right, because he thinks, she can be a snare. Listen, sometimes the very things that we honor, that we love, that we're appreciative, all those things, the enemy can take those and make that a snare. Right? You cannot serve two masters, the Bible tells us. So the enemy's constantly trying to shift your love, your appreciation, your attention, your devotion to something else. Right? Think about those things in your life. What are those things? For me, it can be my farm, my animals. It could be people, right? It could be our ministries. It could be this, Drash Ministries, right? All of a sudden, all of my attention, all my devotion, it can get in the way. We're keeping something is more important than obedient to God, right? That having something, I don't want to let go of it. So when God tells me to do something else, can't let go of it, right? Where when this person or these things are taking my attention away from what God has called me to do, Saul knows the natural things that happen, right? When other relationships happen. I know that this isn't popular, and it's been non-popular for many years down here, right? But it is not marital love above God's love. They're not on the same plane. They're not even close. They shouldn't be close to being equal. We love God first, and then we love other people with the love that we have for God. So the more you pour into your love for God, the better you're going to love other people. And the enemy knows that. So what's he want to do? He wants to get you to not love God. Don't spend time with God. Don't give him the attention he deserves, desires, right? Don't honor him. Don't respect him. Don't spend time in his word. Don't spend time with him in talk. Don't spend time worshiping. Don't spend time praying. Don't spend time fellowshipping with others. If he can get you away from all of that, get you towards something else, you're not going to love other people well. The only way that you and I can love God wholeheartedly and well is to give him first place in our lives. And then everything else benefits. So when you hear people, good people, say to you, you got to love your spouse, you got to love your family above all else, they're just simply wrong. Completely, utterly wrong. There's zero evidence of that in the Bible. There is no marital love in the Bible. It's all the same love. Love God, love people. There are different marital expectations. There are different marital permissions and provisions. There are all kinds of differences in how I godly love someone. But that love is in the same root. That's the root of God. I'm going to love people well. I know that's not popular. Matter of fact, it's super unpopular, right? And people are going to twist it. I'll probably get comments, and I never get comments because people twist it and say all these things. No, I'm not saying that you don't treat your spouse differently. What I'm saying is you don't love them differently. You just treat them differently. It's applied differently. So that's super important for you and I to understand. And Saul knows this, and he knows it's going to be a trap for David. So he is excited about that. A man who's out to get David, seeking a way to destroy him, is pleased when that man has found the favor of his daughter. That ought to wake us up. That ought to be a sign. Wait a second. Wait a second. It's probably the same way in your life. Pay attention. When you know that those who are actively against you all of a sudden come up and want to be lovey-dovey with you and want you part of something, beware. Doesn't mean that it's not an opportunity. And it also might be God going, wait a second, pay attention to this whole thing, right? The enemy will use, right, godly things, godly desires. He will twist them. It's what he does best. Don't think that he has this whole other side over here. Nope, he wants your intentions to love well. He wants your devotion and all those things that you're going to give somebody, and he's going to use those things to try to get you to say no to God, to try to get you to doubt God, withhold yourself from God, right? Put someone else first. The truth of the matter is your spouse can become an idol. They are not above God. They should never be above God. And we know that up here, but in action, that's really hard to apply. It doesn't go over well with your spouse or other people either, right? But it is not say no to God and yes to your spouse, because then your spouse becomes your master, another master. God says you can't serve two masters, right? I take care of my spouse best, right? Take care of my spouse best when my relationship with God is at its best. Then I'm going to love other people well. Saul is looking to take away from what God has from David. Again, he doesn't want to get in the way. He doesn't want to be to blame. He wants it to happen in a process that's pretty natural. So take a look at your processes. Take a look at maybe some of your idols. Take a look at your love. Is the enemy, is there a place where enemy is using your devotion to work, your devotion to other people, your devotion to church, your devotion to playthings, to try to trip you up and trap you? Hey, we're going to leave it right there. We'll see you next time. Simple truth.